Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick warning before we begin. In this story there is mention of physical abuse, so if that is a topic that might make you uncomfortable, maybe you want to skip the story. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user AllShotty. I, 20 female, am pregnant and my estranged stepmom, 45 female, wants to be involved. I have known my stepmom for 12 years. My mother came out after my parents' divorce and started dating a friend of hers. I'm completely fine with my mother being a lesbian. That is not the issue. The issue is that her partner and her were controlling and abusive all my adolescent life. My mother and I are on talking terms and have a friendship now. I worked hard to heal in order for our relationship to be where it's at. My brother moved out and into another family member's home when he was 9 years old. I stayed out of guilt until I was 16 years old. I finally snapped after my mom's partner put her hands around my neck and tried to drag me to my room, all because my brother refused to take a picture with my mom and I defended him. I believe in bodily autonomy and he shouldn't have to do anything, especially with someone who abused him. All while my mom just watched. I packed my stuff and never talked to them again until their wedding last year. My mom and I, in the past year, have become friends again. Now, I'm pregnant with my first child, living on the opposite coast from my parents. I have been on my own for a while, obviously. I told my mom I was pregnant and told her not to tell anyone because I am still in my first trimester and was concerned I'd miscarry. She told her partner, whatever. But then my friend who lived in my hometown said, "Hey, your stepmom is telling people you're pregnant and that she's going to be a grandma. Is this true?" I laughed. I confronted my mother about the issue and my mom denies that her partner told anyone. She then went on a rant about how her partner was a parent to me and wants to be involved in her grandchild's life. She even requested I go back to counseling so I can forgive my stepmom. She also states that she has no idea why I left her home or why I don't talk to her partner. She also throws the fact that I occasionally text my father's wife in my face. Well, she didn't physically abuse me. To my mom, it is also expected that I am the first to reach out to my stepmom. Here's the thing, I don't consider her a parent. I don't want her in my baby's life and I can't forgive her, but I am okay with my mom in my child's life. How do I tell my mom without absolutely crushing her and insulting her parenting, or is there no way I can go about this besides ripping the band-aid off? On the other hand, should I be more open to the idea of having a relationship with her? I absolutely hate her guts and even writing this is sending me into an anxiety attack. I just don't want to lose my mom again because of her wife. Okay, OP, so let me get this straight. Your stepmom physically abused you while your mom just stood there and watched and did nothing, and they are requesting that you should go to therapy and do the work to forgive your stepmom? Honestly, OP, just like you, I probably would have laughed my ass off at that one. I mean, come on, how ridiculously stupid are they? And honestly, OP, I don't understand how you could have forgiven your mom. Has she ever asked for forgiveness? Has she ever admitted what she did to you, what she let happen to you? I understand the craving of a bond with a parent, but OP, not with that one. Or with her wife. These are both horrible people. I wouldn't let them even near a picture of my baby, let alone see them or be in their life. Now, I know you agree with me on this point regarding your stepmom, but your mom should be in the same bag. She is just as bad. I mean, again, not only did she fail to protect you against an abuser, but she also broke your trust like right away as soon as you told her to please not tell anybody that you're pregnant. First thing she does, tells your abuser. Great job, mom. Anyway, I gotta stop the commentary here or I could just keep on ranting about these two. So now I turn to you guys. What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? What would your advice be to her? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Anti-Fascist says, "The woman physically assaulted you. You have no obligation to allow her into your life or your child's life if you don't want to. If your mother chooses her partner over your choices in whom to allow into your life, then she's just shown who is more important to her. Her trying to manipulate you into letting a physical abuser into your life and telling you that you are the one that needs to go to therapy to accept her is your mother continuing to emotionally abuse you. Stick to your guns. I sure as hell wouldn't let that person back into my life or around my children." Chimik4206 says, so my mom is the exact same way. Divorced, let a new spouse abuse her children, has broken relationships with most of us and doesn't understand why, and denied anything bad ever happened. Gets jealous when I talk to my father. I tried and tried to forgive. I was always the first to reach out and try to have a relationship with her, but her behavior never changed. I finally just went low contact. I didn't want the drama of making a huge scene and declaring the cutoff from my mom. Instead, I just stopped reaching out, stopped trying on my part altogether. I talk to her in short phone conversations, only when she calls, maybe every few months if that. I discovered she has no problem with it. What opened my eyes was it seems that is exactly what she wanted all along, to be a mother in name only, not put forth any actual effort to know her child, but to only show up every once in a while on social media to take credit for my accomplishments so she can appear a great mom and get compliments on how she's raised us right. Since going low contact, I feel so much lighter. My confidence has grown not having to prove myself all the time, and it's nice not having a parent gaslight me into feeling her bad choices are my fault. For some reason I can't explain, I still love my mother, I always will. But I think everybody has a right to understand their limits and set boundaries that keep out the things that hurt us. Katja Schultzberg says, here's the thing. Having a child on the way makes this choice easier. As an adult, you can choose who's in your life and how much you're willing to put up with. As a parent, you have a responsibility to protect your child. If this person hurt you as a child, what makes you think she won't behave the same way as did to you? Your stepmom doesn't have the right to assert her parenthood in the first place. That's up to you. But the fact that she thinks she gets to be a grandmother to your kid after all she's done is galling. If you want your mom in your kid's life, tread carefully. She's already demonstrated she doesn't respect your boundaries with regard to her partner. This lack of respect could put your kid in harm's way if your mom ever spends one-on-one time with your kid. Pirate UES says, I hope you'll reconsider allowing your mother in your and your child's lives. She has shown you she hasn't changed, that she wants to give her abusive partner access to you and your baby, and that she will blame you for not going along. I'm so sorry you have such a crappy mother. She doesn't deserve you or your baby. To protect your child, I hope you'll go to therapy to reparent yourself. It's going to be really hard and painful to accept that your mother is awful, but it would be better to stay distanced. It's not your fault you don't have a great relationship. It's hers, and it is not your job to fix it. It's your job to protect your kid. Additional information from OP's comments. My mom has been going to therapy for a while now, which is one of the reasons why we started up a relationship again. That's why it's so odd to me that she recently told me she doesn't understand why my brother and I left her home. Given we have never explicitly told her we left because of XYZ, it's just something my brother and I never felt like doing because to us it was obvious. And she's never apologized. I wanted to be the bigger person, but right now, I don't think that's the right approach. I'm setting boundaries right now for my baby. I appreciate everyone's responses, and I realize that if I told my brother about this, he would think I'm absolutely crazy for letting my child around our mother and her wife, even though he probably wouldn't share his opinion with me, something we both struggle with. I so desperately wanted my mom to be the person I want her to be. I have to let this go for my child now. I was so proud of myself for finally realizing that I was a victim that I forgot that I can't let myself get sucked back into being one again by gaslighting myself. For a second, I thought the 3,000 miles separating us from them would be enough to keep my baby safe, but it's not. I talked to my significant other about the issue, and he agrees that the baby will be better off having no grandparents than bad grandparents that I personally don't get along with. I'll have to communicate to my mom my boundaries. Thank you again to everyone who responded. Edit. I just want to say I absolutely would never let my child be alone with any of my parents. This is something I've known since I was 12 and not even thinking about children. Alright, well, I do believe the community really helped OP a lot to understand that her mother is an abuser. And also, I kinda think that her going to therapy was absolute BS and that she lied to OP about it just to get back in her life. Anyway, OP seems to be ready to set some very strong boundaries with her mother, so how about we move on to the update to see how that went and how this story ends. But before that, of course, I gotta recommend another playlist like this one that only has stories with updates on them so you can enjoy it after this video. Now let's move on with the update. So about 3+ months ago, I posted on this sub asking for advice on my mother and her wife who has been in my life for 13 years now. I just wanted to come back to say everyone was absolutely right. I had planned to tell my mom shortly after my original post that neither she nor her wife would be involved in my child's life. But unfortunately, my partner and I had to make the really hard decision to move back to my hometown. We had to pack up and leave as soon as possible and couldn't find housing right away. My mom was trying really hard to mend our relationship, so I took her offer for us to stay in her home while we continued apartment hunting. My significant other was hopeful about it all and tried to reassure me that this would all work out. It did not. 2 days ago, I was cooking some dinner in the kitchen and my partner asked me if we could broil the salmon at the end so it'd be more golden. My mother called out from another room, letting me know that their oven didn't go about 400 degrees. The broiler would not work and it would set off the fire alarm. Confused, I said, "Oh, why? I set it for 450 and didn't know." Her wife then started yelling and cussing at me, saying she didn't effing understand why I'm disrespecting her. I told her I was just about to turn it down and she continued berating me. My partner just kinda smiled and awkwardly laughed. He was so confused why she was so angry over the oven that hadn't even begun preheating yet. She began egging him on and trying to be aggressive and calling him out, saying we didn't do anything around the house. She said he could suck a penis. Very nice. And just an FYI, we clean our room regularly and never go out to any other rooms. I had just cleaned our bathroom and we take up one cubby in the kitchen. We even deep cleaned their carpets because they had cat pee and vomit on them. We're actively house searching and working. We know we weren't being rude guests, although we hadn't planned on staying so long, 6 weeks. My mom said it was okay to stay with her however long we needed. Anyway, stepmom kicked us out. All the while my mom said absolutely effing nothing, like always. Earlier that day, she was trying to plan my baby shower. While we were going to our cars outside, my mom's wife tried to run straight into me and yelled at me to move. I felt like she wanted me to physically retaliate because she was so close to me for no reason. Of course, I didn't. I'm not insane. I'm 21 now and 5 months pregnant, officially homeless, and not sure how we're supposed to do this and prepare for the baby. At this point, I'm just grateful she didn't put her hands on me again. I should have never given it a chance, but we were desperate and times are hard. Please don't be rude to me. I've already been beating myself up about how I should have known. Let this be a lesson to learn from my life. The abusive person in question will continue to be abusive to you. Don't give them another chance. OP's edit. Thank you all for your kind words and wishes and awards. I was not expecting all of this. When I joined Reddit, it was because I needed extra support in my pregnancy that I couldn't find in real life. So thank you guys so much. As for my mother, she is aware she will never get to see me or her grandchild, as well as my teenage brother, but has chosen to continue supporting her wife. It's really shown me that her priorities truly have never been her children. Now, boundaries are very clear and she still seems to not understand. A lot of you asked about staying with my dad. We don't have a super close relationship for that, nor does he have the space, but he does help when he's able, like he lets me be on their insurance. It's very nice. We have gone to all the programs we are able to enlist in and have set up interviews for them. My boyfriend just got us a place to stay in an Airbnb for the next 2 weeks. I even got a call about a job interview for something that pays more hourly. Things are looking up. We are really hopeful that the apartments we just applied to will accept us. If not, we have a backup plan which includes moving back across the country to where we know we have a place to rent through a family member. It seems like this was a good thing after all, even though it caused a lot of stress. I'm looking forward to no longer seeing my mother or her wife ever again. Now that I've left her life, she has officially isolated herself from all of her family and friends. I kind of think this was her wife's plan all along. Our priority will always be our daughter and having a safe place for her. We will be kind, gentle, and supportive parents. I will be the best mother I possibly can be, and after we are settled in, hopefully I can go to therapy. Thank you all again. Well, OP, you finally took off your rose-tinted glasses for your mother. Good for you. I'm not gonna speculate about what your stepmom's plan is. All I know is she sucks and so does your mom. So good for you for getting them out of your life and focusing on your family, your partner, and your child. So here's wishing you all the best in the future, OP, and thank you so much for sharing. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user FireMeAnytime. Not 5 minutes early, but 10 minutes late, and it cost them a fortune. This story happened to a friend of mine. Let's call him Bobby. Bobby was a CNC machinist, a good one, and the only one. The company he worked for made an intricate product, and his CNC part was crucial. The rest of the product is bolted onto it. The finished product sold for tens of thousands of dollars. It took 3 hours to make this piece. Bobby would make 3 a day. He'd make one in the morning, take his coffee break, then make another, and take his lunch break. That ate up about 6.75 hours. He'd stay late to make the third part and make 2 hours overtime. His new foreman turned out to be more than a bit of a jerk. He'd try to get Bobby to do other tasks, and Bobby said no, as he needed to monitor the CNC machine during all stages of the cycle. Foreman bitched to the plant manager, who told him to back off and leave Bobby alone. One day, there was a bad snowstorm and Bobby was 10 minutes late. The foreman was there to greet him at the time clock, with a crap-eating grin on his face, holding a demerit slip. Bobby had clocked in a minute late the previous week, and the union rules said that if you were late twice within 14 days, you got 20 demerit points. Bobby and foreman got into a bit of an animated conversation, and the union steward came over and said that Bobby had no choice but to take the demerit hit. So Bobby went to work. His shift was 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., but he usually stayed until 6:30 p.m. to finish the last part. Not today. At 4:30, he shut the machine down and headed for the door. The next morning, the foreman comes over and says that the assembly team is short a part. "Yeah, I know. I'm working on it right now. It'll be done in 2 hours," said Bobby. "But they need 3 a day. Why didn't you make 3 of them yesterday?" said the foreman. "Because my shift is over at 4:30 and I went home." "What? You stay every night until the third part is finished." Bobby pulled the demerit slip out of his shirt pocket, looked foreman in the eye and said, "Not anymore." Bobby had done the math. Every week, instead of getting 15 parts, they were getting 10 or 11. Foreman tried to sweep it under the rug, but within a few days, chaos ensued. The assemblers had no core part, and their team went to the plant manager to let him know that production was falling behind. The assemblers liked it. They got to hang around yakking while they waited for the next CNC part to arrive. Eventually, there was a meeting with the plant manager, foreman, union steward, and Bobby. Foreman tried to throw Bobby under the bus, saying that he refused overtime. Union steward pointed out that, as per the contract, mandatory overtime was only in case of emergencies, and this wasn't an emergency. Bobby had every right to decline the overtime. Foreman lost his temper, started yelling at Bobby and union steward, and was asked to leave the meeting. Plant manager knew he was screwed and looked at Bobby and asked, "What's it going to take to get you to work the overtime?" Bobby smiled and replied, "As long as foreman is my supervisor, I won't be working a minute of overtime." And that was the last anyone saw of foreman. By sticking to the contract, Bobby cost the company a handful of parts worth many thousands of dollars and put the company into a position where their lowered production would cost them even more in perpetuity. Bobby worked a couple of Saturdays to catch up and made double time for those shifts. They hired a new foreman who was explicitly instructed, "Do not, under any circumstances, F with Bobby." Well, Bobby knew exactly what game he was playing. Good for him. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.